Question: who are some of the saints besides Mary, Saint Joseph, and Saint Michael that you have experienced during exorcisms and gotten direct assistance from them?
I don't see them, but it's just that the person who's possessed usually sees them. The one that's probably outside those three that's the most is Padre Pio. My nickname for him is Johnny on the Spot, because you just ask him to show up and boom, he's right there, right? And I think it's God's way of giving him satisfaction for having been beat up by demons in this life, right? They get their comeuppance, right? In fact, it's so funny. I mean, he's kind of extraordinary. One time, this one woman, this demon would not sit still. So I just turned to Padre Pio and I said, "Would you get this guy under control?" And all of a sudden, the woman just goes wham on down on the ground, and she's like writhing around. And afterwards, I asked her, "What happened?" And she said, "I don't know, but I could feel his foot on my back." All right. So there's Padre Pio. It just depends on the nature of the case. Every demon has a nemesis. And these nemeses are the result of the person in that, God sets the angel up as the nemesis, or he sets up the saint. And that usually means that there's somebody in this life who has worked hard and conquered the demon in this life. So for example, it's Catherine of Alexandria is the nemesis of the noonday devil. Our Lady is the nemesis of Satan under the title of Immaculate Conception. She's the nemesis of Lucifer under the title of Seat of Wisdom. She's the nemesis of Beelzebub. By the way, those three are the same. Beelzebub, Lucifer, and Beelzebub are the same guy. She's the nemesis of him under the title of the Immaculate Heart. Baal, it's the Immaculate Heart. But when you look at the saints, one of the ones that, the only time I've ever had a case that had Satan as a possessor that I actually thought he was telling the truth, because usually when they say I'm Satan, I'm like, yeah, I've seen him and you ain't him, all right? So they try and bluff you to make you feel, oh, we're Legion, yeah, okay. There's just one of you, isn't there? You know, that kind of thing. But the nemesis, one of the nemeses of Satan, this was a very fascinating, the nemesis of Satan in this particular case was Saint Joan of Arc. And the reason it was Saint Joan of Arc is because in this case, God was revealing that Satan was the inciter of treason through ambition. Let that sink in. It's the problem we have in our church, and it's the problem we have in our government. They are selling out the church for ambition, and they're selling out our country for ambition. That's a fascinating thing. And the reason she became the nemesis of him under that specific aspect is because the bishop who put her to death was doing so, he was committing treason by siding with the English, and he was French, in order to get a bigger bishopric. And yet and in fact, it's very fascinating. In the rehabilitation trials of St. Joan of Arc, it's recounted how one time she was asked, what's the one thing that you feared? They said, you're fearless, when she would go into battle. And they said, what do you fear? And she said, treason. Interesting, right? So it just depends on the particular Saint Catherine of Alexandria, as I mentioned. There's a number of different ones. It just depends on the particular demon that you're dealing with. So there's been a lot of them. I always tell people being an exorcist is like being on the receiving end of a sewer pipe, right? Because you're just dealing with garbage all the time, right? And some of it's the level of depravity. God does give the grace to the exorcist to not be scarred by it, but sometimes the levels of depravity that are revealed and the evil of the demons in their fall is so profound at times that sometimes there's been a couple that were revealed to me, and it took me a while to process it, just to be able to kind of clear my mind and how evil it was. So, but what happens though is, being on the receiving end of a sewer pipe, sometimes women who are washing dishes lose their ring, then it goes down the drain, and so you get these little gems floating down the sewer pipe, right? And it's the same thing with exorcism. It's a sewer pipe, but the interesting part of it isn't even the demons. As you can see from the way I've talked, the real interesting thing is what you learn about Our Lady or the saints or God. That's what's interesting. So when people say, what's the most, bizarre and fascinating thing you've seen, look, demons are boring. They do the same stuff over and over again. What's interesting is what you hear about our Lord and Our Lady or some saint.